A new wave of geopolitical shocks is unfolding, from secret US-Russia contacts and explosive leaks shaking Washington to Putin's desperate denials and frantic attempts to regain control. Ukraine, meanwhile, is accelerating its counteroffensive strategy, unveiling breakthroughs on both the battlefield and the diplomatic front. Cities deep inside Russia plunge into chaos. Europe quietly prepares for scenario once deemed impossible, and unexpected players are stepping onto the stage, ready to rewrite the rules of this war. What is really happening behind closed doors? Who is gaining the upper hand? And which decision made this week could change the entire course of the conflict? Let's break down what's happening right now. Hello, this is Ukraine Today. Maria Farafonova here with the latest updates. Putin has made another series of misleading claims. According to the dictator, there were supposedly no US peace agreement drafts regarding Ukraine. He insists there was merely a set of questions for discussion.
At the moment, some points of the plan sound ridiculous. It is legally impossible to reach an agreement with Ukraine right now.
Putin, meanwhile, claims the Kremlin is ready to discuss every point of the plan to end the war in Ukraine. He says he is prepared to send Vladimir Medinsky and representatives of the foreign ministry as Russia's negotiators. In addition, the Russian leader announced that an American delegation will arrive in Moscow next week. Regarding the leak of phone conversation with US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, the Kremlin leader said it was a criminal offensive and that eavesdropping is unacceptable.
Witkoff defends the position and interests of the United States as he sees them and as they are seen by the people who delegate him to negotiate with Russia.
Putin claimed that those in the West who steal money and call for continuing the fighting to the last Ukrainian are the ones criticizing Witkoff. We are prepared for this, he added. Former Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine Valery Zaluzhny has returned to Ukraine and delivered a shocking forecast about how the war may end.
Ending or halting the war, especially one fought through attrition, will depend on a combination of achievements or losses on the military, economic and political fronts. A collapse on any one of these fronts can only create the preconditions for its conclusion.
A full-blown diplomatic scandal is unfolding in the United States. US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff has held a second closed-door meeting with the head of the Ukrainian delegation, National Security and Defense Council Secretary Rustem Umerov.
Umerov and Witkoff are meeting again right now. Sources familiar with the matter told AFP, adding that there are still some questions to be discussed.
Moreover, Witkoff is set to meet with dictator Putin as well. The delegation will also include Jared Kushner, the US president's son-in-law. No additional details about these talks are currently known. Media report that Witkoff is expected to brief the Russian side, including the Kremlin leader, on the result of the negotiations that took place in the United States between the American and Ukrainian delegations. It has finally happened. The Moscow region has been plunged into total darkness. Just 30 kilometers from the Russian capital, absolutely everything went dark.
A blackout has occurred in Ramenskoye, near Moscow. Locals are complaining that dozens of buildings are without power. Elevators are down and food can't be heated up.
Mosoblenergo has issued a statement claiming that emergency repair work is underway. However, this is far from the only trouble that has literally fallen on Russians' heads. In Buryatia, a full-blown transportation collapse is unfolding, an 85-kilometer traffic jam made even worse by brutal weather conditions. It appears nature itself is punishing the occupiers with full force.
Eyewitnesses told us they've been stuck for over 7 hours. People are running low on food and water, and their cars are running low on fuel. Families with children are among those stuck on the highway. It's freezing outside, with the temperature at 18 degrees Celsius.
Frontline news! Volodymyr Zelensky had reported that fierce battles are ongoing in Pokrovsk, yet Kupiansk has been almost completely liberated from Russian occupiers.
More successes for our guys in the Kupiansk sector. Although Russia claims it has captured Kupiansk, we have, to be honest, almost completely cleared them out of the city.
Russian forces continue to boast about supposedly massive successes at the front. General Valery Gerasimov has painted himself a picture of brilliant victories, claiming that Russian troops have allegedly encircled Stepnoyirsk in the Zaporizhia region. General Valery Gerasimov has painted himself a picture of brilliant victories, claiming that Russian troops have allegedly encircled Stepnoyirsk in the Zaporizhia region, are successfully advancing in the Dnipropetrovsk region, control 30% of Konstantinivka, and have even entered Liman in Donetsk. Ukrainian defenders are quickly punishing the occupiers for such blatant lies. Russia's army has lost key air defense assets in Donbass.
In just one night, the following fell under the hot hand of intelligence officers. A 9AA-3 launcher from the S-300V air defense system, which was on combat duty. Two expensive 1L-25 Niobium SV radar stations at once.
If you want peace, prepare for war. And Ukraine is preparing not only to repel enemy attacks in 2026, but also to strike deep into Russian territory. In particular, Ukraine and Norway will open a joint drone production line in 2026. And that's far from the only bad news for the enemy. Our journalists have more. Watch now.
A new level and scale. Ukraine and Norway have reached an agreement on collaboration in the field of unmanned aerial vehicle production. The corresponding agreement was signed by the Ukrainian side with the Norwegian Minister of Defense. Denis Shmyhal emphasized that this cooperation will become an important stage in expanding Ukraine's production capabilities and strengthening the country's defense capacity. The top priority is the rapid deployment of an experimental production line as early as 2026.
We are gaining access not only to production facilities, but also to the technologies of NATO countries. This also means the opportunity for cooperation in the production of Ukrainian drones and, accordingly, the exchange of experience, as well as in the practical use of Ukrainian interceptor drones. Both strike drones and accordingly they're scaling up.
A similar model of cooperation is also being implemented with the United Kingdom. A few days ago, Kyiv signed a licensing agreement for large-scale production of Octopus interceptor drones at British facilities.
This is an exclusively Ukrainian development, and it already has real-world application in combat conditions. This drone can operate both at night and it is effective against electronic warfare systems, and notably, this drone can operate at low altitudes.
The manufactured interceptor drones will be delivered to Ukraine to strengthen its defense against Russian UAVs. The Octopus project is being implemented as a joint defense industrial initiative. The United Kingdom has obtained a license for mass production of the Ukrainian interceptor, and Ukraine will receive them to enhance its own interception capabilities.
The recently signed agreement comprehensively provides for the extensive production of several thousand crucial interceptor drones for the pressing needs of Ukraine's defense forces, specifically at various specialized enterprises located within the United Kingdom, which effectively eliminates any possibility for the Russian side to successfully destroy the vital defense plants actively manufacturing this essential product.
3 manufacturers have already received the necessary technologies to produce the Octopus drones. Another 11 companies are preparing production lines for them. After the start of Russia's full-scale aggression in 2022, the United Kingdom became one of Ukraine's main partners. London is providing powerful military assistance. In addition, the United Kingdom is actively promoting sanctions pressure on Russia and providing financial support to Kyiv.
The United Kingdom is a pioneer when it comes to practical implementation of so-called coalitions. Drone coalitions, naval coalitions, strike capability coalitions, and accordingly it was the United Kingdom that delivered the first heavy weaponry to the Ukrainian side. In particular, we're talking about the Challenger 2 tank. Only after the corresponding actions by the United Kingdom did the United States deliver its Abrams tanks to the Ukrainian side.
There are also plans in Ukraine to create robotic strongpoints, which will be equipped with combat modules to counter Russian occupiers. First and foremost,
we are talking about the logistics component, meaning ground robots. They will take on the main part of logistics, reducing to zero the losses of personnel and, accordingly, equipment of the defense forces of Ukraine. This refers to the delivery of ammunition and, accordingly, the evacuation of the wounded. Additionally, these are engineering functions such as mining and demining areas.
Earlier, Ukraine, together with the United States, began producing drone interceptors capable of countering Russian strike UAVs. Additionally, the Dutch government will provide €250 million for the purchase of American weapons for Ukraine under the PRL program. In particular, anti-aircraft missiles for F-16s and ammunition, which Kyiv needs most, will be purchased in the United States.
A shockwave for the occupiers is rising on the horizon. Britain and Ukraine are launching a top-secret anti-drone weapon, a new sky predator that obliterates Iranian UAV mid-air before the enemy even realizes what's happening. Cutting-edge British technology fuses with Ukrainian bravery has created a devastating strike that rewrites the rules of modern warfare. A new era of drone combat has begun, and its first thunder is already echoing across the front line. All the details ahead in our report.
Ukraine is strengthening its air defense not only at the front but also on a global scale. The United Kingdom and Ukraine have signed a historic licensing agreement for the production of Ukrainian Octopus interceptor drones, which were specifically developed to counter Russian Shaheds. As Defense Minister Denis Shmyhal emphasizes, this agreement marks a new stage in international military technical cooperation, where Ukrainian technologies form the basis for mass production by partners in the defense coalition.
There are plans for mass production of the interceptors, which could reach several thousand units per month. The manufactured equipment will be delivered to Ukraine to strengthen the protection of our skies. Denis Shmyhal, Minister of Defense of Ukraine.
The Octopus project is currently in the final stage of negotiations and could be launched in the coming months. British Minister for Defense Capability and Industry Luke Pollard clarifies, the United Kingdom is preparing to produce about 2,000 interceptors per month and send them directly to Ukraine.
The United Kingdom is an outstanding leader in research, development, and advanced manufacturing. That's why we can provide what our Ukrainian friends are lacking in this regard. We must be fast, and we must be first. We are starting with drones for obvious reasons, but overall, Ukraine is an important partner for us in developing the technologies needed to deter Russia and rearm Europe. Luke Pollard, Minister for Defense Capability and Industry of the United Kingdom.
For Ukraine, this agreement is not just about expanding drone production. It is an attempt to create a sustainable system to counter the mass Shahd attacks that the aggressor country launches against Ukrainian cities almost every night. The Octopus has already proven its effectiveness on the battlefield. It is compact, maneuverable, and inexpensive to produce. It intercepts enemy drones in the air and provides more flexible and rapid protection than traditional air defense systems. In Ukraine, 3 manufacturers have already received the necessary technologies to produce the Octopus, and another 11 are preparing their production lines. But the key factor is the international scale, with production starting in the United Kingdom. This makes it possible to move from producing dozens or hundreds to thousands of interceptor drones each month. Such a pace could for the first time bring the situation closer to a turning point in the drone war, where until now the numerical advantage has remained with Eritrea. At the same time, Ukraine is developing joint programs with the United States as well. There too, production is being set up for interceptor drones capable of destroying Russian strike UAVs. Washington has not specified whether this concerns the Octopus, but the trend itself is clear. Partners are moving toward a model of not only supplying but also producing together.
Any military project, any project related to increasing the supply of weapons to the front, whether it's regular drones or interceptor drones for Shaheds, they are all important for conducting a full-scale war, both in the air and on the ground. And projects of this particular kind, such as the significant joint production of the documentary Octopuses in both England and Ukraine, are indeed even more critically important for the Ukrainian side, especially during these challenging times. Well, let's put it this way, they won't bring about a turning point in the war in the near future, let's be honest, but at the same time, they will be able to improve the safety of the skies for many, many cities.
At the same time, Ukraine is strengthening not only its defense front but also its financial front. Kyiv and the International Monetary Fund have reached an agreement on a new 4-year support program worth $8.2 billion. As Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko emphasizes, these funds will help finance critically important expenditures and maintain macro-financial stability, without which neither the production of weapons nor the resilience of the defense economy is possible.
Russia is ramping up its hybrid operations against NATO members, pushing Europe to take measures that would have seemed unthinkable only a few years ago, including planning potential retaliatory strikes. According to the Wall Street Journal, Germany has even drafted a classified 1,200-page blueprint outlining preparations for a possible armed conflict with Russia. More details in our report.
Europe is preparing to respond to Russia's attacks. MEPs propose to defend themselves together, learn from Ukraine, and tighten sanctions against Russia and Belarus. This is what they claim in Deutsche Welle.
You have to speak to Russia in its own language. Russia only understands the language of force. That's why Russia has excellent relations with Turkey, despite the fact that Turkey shot down its plane and didn't say it was a mistake. They apologized for what they did, but at the same time made it clear, we warned you.
A day later, Politico also reported that Europe is considering retaliatory measures against Russia.
As of now, I think it's still unfortunately too early to talk about any more serious response from Europe. Even though it's obvious that aggression against Europe from the Russian Federation has been going on for a long time, and Russian drones or drones that take off in Europe, most likely launched by people connected to the Russian Federation, are flying in. Europe, as a collective entity, is still not psychologically prepared or truly ready to resort to, let's say, the overt use of forceful military mechanisms of pressure and coercion. This reluctance is deeply ingrained.
According to journalist sources, the Kremlin's ideas for retaliation range from joint offensive cyber operations and faster, more coordinated identification of the sources of hybrid attacks to unexpected military exercises led by NATO. According to the Wall Street Journal's description, Germany's plan appears to be more concrete. The country has developed a secret plan to prepare for a possible war with Russia.
In Germany, they also considered, well, maybe sacrificing Ukraine and that's it. But in 2023, somewhere closer to the end of 2023, the German Council on Foreign Relations prepared a report that included the following phrase: in the event of Ukraine's defeat, a war between Germany and Russia is a prospect within 6 to 10 years. In other words, it's not that the war is cancelled. The war might be postponed, but over a longer period, it will still happen. Later on in Germany, they said that no, it won't be 6 to 10 years. The war could start in as little as a year.
In just over 2 years, the Germans created a document that provides for the deployment of up to 800,000 NATO troops, including units from Germany and the United States, to the eastern hypothetical front line. Sources from the Wall Street Journal claim that the plan details the logistical routes along which the troops are to be transferred.
Naturally, doing this on the territory of Ukraine is more acceptable than allowing it on their own soil. But what does it mean to do this on the territory of Ukraine? It means that Germany would send its troops to Ukraine to fight against Russia. So far, we have not seen any serious signals from our European partners indicating their readiness to send troops to Ukraine. But there is talk about it. Emmanuel Macron sometimes brings it up, but somehow this idea doesn't really find much support among the European Union partners.
By continuing its aggression, Russia must understand that in Ukraine it may face not only the armed forces of Ukraine, but also other military forces defending the sovereignty of their own countries.
That's all for now. Stay with us to be the first to know what's happening right now. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. See you soon.